So Mike Johnson just sent the House of Representatives home for another week of paid vacation. That's right, they were supposed to be back on the 26th to vote on the Epstein files and swear in Mrs. Grijalda. Sorry, her name's hard to say. But Mike Johnson sent everybody home on a paid vacation for another week. That means they're not coming back till November 3rd. Maybe the Epstein files are as nasty as they say, even though we all know they're as nasty as they say. But Mike Johnson, again, although federal workers are furloughed or working without pay, has sent home the House of Representatives for another week. And they're getting paid $174,000 a year. And they've only worked 20 days altogether with all the vacations he's handing out. But yeah, that's what's important. Keep them files hidden, Mike. And don't let your Grindr app get caught.
It's not that Congress hasn't voted to release the files because Mike Johnson refuses to swear in Adelita Grijalva. Mike Johnson refuses to swear in Adelita Grijalva to block them from releasing the files. It's not that they're prevented from voting on the files because Congress isn't in session. Mike Johnson is keeping Congress out of session because he doesn't want them voting on the files. Because he doesn't want them voting to release the files. All Republicans are doing is blaming Democrats for doing a bad thing when they know that they're loving this. They know that this is the plan all along. They have been doing this the whole time because they want to keep Congress out of session for as long as possible. I predict that it's never coming back in session. I don't know what that's going to look like because I don't know if it's ever happened, but I don't think they're ever coming back to work. I think at this point, Mike Johnson's going to find another way to keep them out of Capitol Hill for as long as possible.
Do you want to see someone tell 8 lies in 32 seconds? It sounds impossible, right? But this guy, he just did it.
What's been accomplished in the last 9.5 months? A couple of things listed here. We passed the historic Working Families Tax Cut, one of the most landmark pieces of legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress for the benefit of the American people. We slashed taxes for hardworking Americans, geared for the lower and middle class earners who needed that assistance. We cut hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse from government. We solved the border crisis. We are working now to solve the crime crisis in major cities around America. We strengthened Medicaid. We improved healthcare access, and we lowered premiums with our legislation. We put
Unbelievable. Let's go through these one by one, just real quick.
Passed the historic Working Families Tax Cut, one of the most landmark pieces of legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress for the benefit of the American people.
In fact, the one big, beautiful bill is the most regressive tax bill in American history. Do you know what that means? Your tax rate gets lower as your income gets higher. Yeah, it benefits Americans all right, but only if they're rich or if they're a giant corporation.
Slash taxes for hardworking Americans, geared for the lower and middle class earners who needed that assistance.
Reality is, look how much money you lose if you're on the lower end of the income scale with this tax bill, and look how much you gain if you're on the upper end.
We cut hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse from government.
The real number is closer to $16.3 billion. Johnson says we've solved the border crisis, but they've passed no comprehensive immigration legislation that will actually solve the problems that have not been addressed in 30 years. They're simply terrorizing our communities, getting rid of due process, and arresting U.S. citizens, 170 of them by now. He's also claiming to have solved the crime crisis, but crime has been dropping for years. And on the other hand, Republicans have been killing violence intervention programs, defunding local law enforcement, and he's gutting common sense gun laws that were finally starting to reduce gun violence deaths. But Johnson saves the 3 biggest whoppers for last.
We strengthened Medicaid.
He says we strengthened Medicaid when the Congressional Budget Office and everybody else who's analyzed the bill says it will knock 10 million people off of Medicaid.
We improved healthcare access.
There are articles like this all over the internet. Rural hospitals will be shutting down. Planned Parenthood will be less accessible and clinics are closing.
We lowered premiums with our legislation.
Republicans literally refuse to extend the ACA premium tax credits, and premiums are going to skyrocket as a result. That's why we're in a government shutdown for almost 30 days now. So you see, I was right. 8 lies in 32 seconds. If he'd had a little bit more time, he could have added, and I really want to see what's in the Epstein files. That, and I care about the deficit, and he would have had a perfect 10. Don't worry, Mike Johnson, there's another press conference for you to lie at tomorrow.
MAGA Mike Johnson was just confronted by a Fox News reporter about the Epstein files, and Mike Johnson visibly rolled his eyes and lied straight to our faces about why they're not releasing the files. Mike Johnson is such a slimy person, and the way he weaved through these questions and put the blame on Democrats for everything is just horrible. So stick around to hear everything that Mike Johnson had to say today, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. So starting out, Mike Johnson had a very important announcement for everyone today, and this important announcement is that he's finally going to be working with the Democrats on a deal to actually reopen the government, which would be an important announcement if that was actually the announcement that he was making. Instead, this very important announcement is that Mike Johnson is working to officially nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. And unfortunately, no, I'm not joking. I am just so happy that our government is working so hard on getting Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize that he truly deserves. Who cares that the government is shut down, and that people are losing a ton of money because of tariffs, and that people are about to lose their Medicare access? The most important goal of the government right now should be Donald Trump's Nobel Peace Prize. So thank you, Mike Johnson. But in all seriousness, this is a disgusting attempt by Mike Johnson to suck up to Donald Trump and to distract from all of the bad things that are going on in this country. Speaking of bad things going on in this country, a reporter actually confronted Mike Johnson about the federal agents shooting faith leaders with pepper balls and arresting journalists.
One thing Mike Johnson gonna do is send the House of Representatives home instead of working. The House of Representatives are gonna be out of session again next week.
Sorry.
They have been out of session for more than a month. More than a month off with full pay, six-figure salary. Mind you, they went out of session shortly after coming back from their 6-week summer break. This is the height of insanity. There is still work to be done. There are still things that the House of Representatives could be doing. Despite the government shutdown. The Senate's been doing stuff. They did like 2-3 different oversight hearings right through the shutdown. With all the misappropriation of funds and rogue spending that the government is doing, I can't imagine that Congress wouldn't want to have an oversight hearing right now. The president just asked the DOJ for over $200 million. Congress don't want to meet about that? The president released his donor list. I'm like stress eating at this point. The president released his donor list of the tech bros and the billionaires and the financiers and the crypto people. He released his list of donors. The oversight committee in the Senate, judiciary committee in the Senate, they don't want to meet about that? No. There's got to be some criminality in there somewhere where Mini Mike Johnson's concerned. Mini Mike has got to be committing crimes. It can't just be dereliction of duty. There got to be some criminal acts happening. There has to be.
Chart over here. But just think of what's been accomplished in the last 9.5 months. A couple of things listed here. We passed the historic Working Families Tax Cut, one of the most landmark pieces of legislation ever passed by the U.S. Congress for the benefit of the American people. We slashed taxes for hardworking Americans, geared for the lower and middle class earners who needed that assistance. We cut hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse from government. We solved the border crisis. We are working now to solve the crime crisis in major cities around America. We strengthened Medicaid. We improved healthcare access, and we lowered premiums with our legislation.
I mean, who believes this stuff? I think it's extra offensive when he goes and does that. So then he's asked about the $230 million payment that Trump wants to make to himself to settle the case on behalf of taxpayers for Trump's own pain and suffering. And MAGA Mike says, "Oh, I don't know. I've never heard of that before." Here, play this clip.
Last question. Yes, ma'am. Second row, right.
How comfortable are you with the president apparently seeking $230 million from the Department of Justice?
I don't know the details about that. I've just read it. I didn't talk with him about that. I know that he believes he's owed that reimbursement. What I heard yesterday was if he receives it, he was going to consider giving it to charity. I mean, he doesn't need those. Oh yeah, he's going to give it to charity. I've never heard about it, but I heard he's going to give it to charity.
These are the worst, like not even good liars. They're bad liars. And then this is what I was talking about earlier with the MAGA Republican Congress members during this private conference call. Some of the information leaked. For example, Congresswoman Van Dyne, she said, "What are you doing? Like you're embarrassing, and all our constituents." MAGA Mike think that like you're embarrassing us every day. Like, can you stop this? And MAGA Mike's like, "That's not what she said." And the reporters apparently were on the call, so they know what was said. But just a liar. Here, play this clip.
There was one one member of the Republican conference. These are supposed to be, confidential off the record calls among colleagues, but some of you guys listen in, and I make a pleading at the beginning of every call that you wouldn't do that and wouldn't characterize it, but whoever the leak is, whatever. Beth Van Dyne was quoted. Beth is a dear friend. We've had lots of conversations about this. She was not complaining. It was not dissonance, Chad.
Okay. It's ridiculous. Let's bring in Democratic Congressmember Joe Neguse from Colorado. Congressman, how are you? He does that every day. I think the American people it would be parody. Like, that would truly be, it looks like an SNL person playing them, and perhaps it would be funny if Americans weren't suffering, but I don't even know what I'm watching. I show this stuff every day, and I'm like, what? It gets weirder every day.
Yeah, it's theater of the absurd. I mean, first, it's great to be with you, Ben, but yeah, complete theater of the absurd. I don't understand why the Speaker of the House continues to have these press conferences, and it would be, hilarious, farcical, if not so painful for the country. I mean, the reality is there's essentially nothing that Donald Trump can do that Speaker Johnson won't defend. And I say this as, somebody who has served in the Congress, was in the Congress when Kevin McCarthy was Speaker. I never thought I would say this, but I think Speaker Johnson is the weakest Speaker in certainly the modern history of our country. I mean, essentially, he and his caucus work for Donald Trump, sycophants, in terms of their support for him, capitulating to him at every turn. And I just find it so outlandish, the way that they've debased the Article I branch of our government, the United States Congress, which is supposed to.
But if MAGA did that, they would have to give up their entire identity, because their entire identity is through Donald Trump. They live vicariously through him. And to say that he did wrong or that he's in those files, well, it doesn't just, it's not the same, because we don't worship politicians and we don't live vicariously through them. I've never lived vicariously through Bill Clinton. I don't sit and do that. I don't worship him that way. He didn't empower me to live the lifestyle that I do. That's not what happened. That's what happened with Trump. That's why this one is so hard for them. But they're going to bat harder and harder. And while they do so, while they stall this, they're protecting pedophiles. There's no other way you can say it. They truly are. We're over here going, we don't care if Bill Clinton's on the list. Release it. But are you going to believe it if they literally take, a pen and paper and go like that and mark out Donald Trump's name and go, see, are you really going to believe it then? I mean, how blatant do these people have to be? But what I started to say earlier and meant to keep going with was more people are going to have to stand up and file lawsuits like this. I mean, Donald Trump sure is happy as hell to file any lawsuit he can and claim that he's been done wrong and he's been screwed over. So I think it's high time that that Democrats and people does the same thing. I saw where that the construction company that's demolishing the east wing of the White House, I saw where people were going on their website and giving them horrible one-star reviews. Good for them. Couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people. You got to stand up somewhere, because Donald Trump is the bully that took your lunch money and you let him have it. And if you let a bully take your lunch money today, he's going to come back tomorrow and ask for more money. And he's going to make your life a living hell. And the only way that you ever beat that bully is to stand up to that bully and let him know that you won't be pushed around. So, Mike Johnson is the little bitch that just goes out there every time and sits there. We're going to do it. I promise we're going to do it. We're going to be very transparent with the American people, blah, blah, blah. And he sits there and does that like a little nervous rat. And I guarantee he walks off stage and probably beats his head against the wall and then goes and watches porn, and his son texts him to say, hey, Dad, I heard the phone ding. What are you doing? That's the type of idiot that he is. But he deserves this. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I hope they sue him harder. I hope they sue him for more. I don't give a shit if I see Mike Johnson out on the side of the road, looking for a job. I'm like, screw you, pal. Because they had no problem screwing over the American people. None whatsoever. So whatever happens after this, and I really hope that one day we see all of these people on trial for their wrongdoing. I really do. Donald Trump may have worked it out that he got immunity, but Mike Johnson doesn't have it. Kristi Noem don't have it. Monty don't have it. That's why in all these confirmation hearings, they're not even answering the questions. They're not lying. They're just insulting and distracting because they realize, if I lie, I don't have immunity. So, yeah, I think Johnson deserves to be sued, and I think more people just needs to stand up to this administration and say, we're not going to take it. You can't just roll over for these bullies. They're going to continue to run over you. The more you lay down, the worse it's going to get.
All right, we are now 24 days into this government shutdown, and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is struggling to keep his coalition together. We've already seen Marjorie Taylor Greene thrashing, trying to break from the Republican viewpoint on this because she understands the implications of healthcare premiums rising so rapidly. This is something that cannot be hidden. Like when Donald Trump takes a $400 million jet from Qatar, that's rather abstract. Most Americans don't feel that on a day-to-day basis, but this is something that Americans are feeling, will continue to feel, and they're blaming it on Republicans. I want to start off with this clip of Speaker of the House Mike Johnson talking about a healthcare plan that is potentially coming. Keep in mind, they've said there's a healthcare plan in the works for the past decade, but now all of a sudden, they're claiming to have something that may be able to replace Obamacare. Here's him getting pressed on this 2 days back.
But if you have ideas and you have plans, why not have that out there to talk about in the public so the people can hear that debate happening? I mean, you could have committees in session right now.
They will, Caitlin.
Talking about this. I think the question is maybe
we
when.
need to get back to regular session so we can. No, we're not going to allow Chuck Schumer to play selfish political games and hold the American people hostage. We will not negotiate with legislative terrorists. We're not going to let them do that. We can't. We owe it to the people to get this government operating again. Republicans have now voted 12 or 13 times, counting the House and Senate, 13 times to open the government, and the Democrats have voted 13 times to close it down. It is wrong. There is no reason for it.
Okay, a few things. Number one, negotiation is inherently bipartisan. If you want the government to stay open, you have to have a conversation with Democrats. Number two, when Speaker of the House Mike Johnson calls leading Democrats negotiation terrorists or whatever, he's called us an insane amount of things. But in this clip, he says, we don't negotiate with terrorists or whatever the hell. Just know that a few days back, Leader Hakeem Jeffries almost died. There was an assassination plot against him from a crazed Trump supporter who said in a chat that he needs to take this terrorist out. When Donald Trump got asked about this, in this clip right here, he acts dumb. Take a listen. He tries to pivot over.
The same day you established this task force back on January 20th was the same day you pardoned the January 6th defendants.
Yeah, very proud of that. Yeah.
Just last weekend, one of them was charged with allegedly threatening to kill House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And a big theme of this task force has been allowing law enforcement to do their job and holding accountable people who go after law enforcement. Do you worry that your actions back on day one undermine what this task force is trying to accomplish?
No, you have thousands of people that we're dealing with, and if one goes haywire, look at what this guy in Virginia said, where he wanted to kill his opponent. He's going to kill his opponent. He's going to kill his opponent's children and I think wife.
That's not what he said at all. He didn't say that at all.
And he continues to run, and the Democrats continue. He's running for Attorney General in Virginia. Look what he said. So now, do you think all Democrats should be prohibited from living anymore? I mean, think of what he said. He's going to kill his opponent, and he's going to kill the children of his opponent, and I think the wife. I said, this guy's sick. That is a sick guy. And how do you vote for somebody like that? But I don't view that every Democrat would say that, because not every Democrat would say that.
We're not saying that every Democrat or every Republican is saying a single thing. What we're saying is that you pardoned 1,600 people, and not just one of them is acting out, but dozens of them have either been rearrested, one of them on child pornography charges. You can look it up. His name is Andrew Taake, Taake. He was arrested for child solicitation. One was killed near where I grew up in Indiana because he tried to attack a cop. Spoiler alert, when you pardon somebody for attacking cops, that tells them they can do it again. And when they try to do it again, it might not go as well as it did the first time. I mean, it didn't go well the first time either, but just know that when Donald Trump is talking about this and trying to downplay it, Trump pardoned a 43-year-old January 6th rioter, Christopher Moynihan, and he's now being arrested again for threatening to eliminate House Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Moynihan texted, quote, "I cannot allow this terrorist to live. I will kill him for the future." Let's listen to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson being asked about this exact thing. Do you think he is responsible about it, or do you think he just plays dumb and acts like he has no clue?
Get pardoned for every single person that was convicted as a result.
I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know who's been alleged to have been involved in this. I will say that anybody
who threatens political violence against elected officials or anyone else should be have the full weight and measure of the Department of Justice on their head. I trust that will happen. I hope it will. We are intellectually consistent about that, obviously. I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these the assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. So let's not make it a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there. We're just going to say anybody, any deranged individual, this has to stop. And the rhetoric that you saw on display on Saturday, we highlighted yesterday, it plays into this, okay? There are people that get triggered. There are deranged people in society when they hear elected officials participating in a rally that was paid for by Soros and sponsored by communists, with signs and placards and mantras that were repeated that we should bring death to, fascist politicians. What they mean is they call every Republican a fascist now. They're calling for the death of elected officials. Please, enough of that. We got to stop it. Stop the rhetoric, stop all the nonsense, and stop the violence.
Thank you.
Look.
Just a huge non-answer. This is coming at a time when Republicans are being increasingly blamed for the government shutdown that's happening right now. So at first, people were about evenly split along party lines. Democrats blamed Republicans, Republicans blamed Democrats, independents were split in the middle. But as time's gone on, and as more Republicans have been speaking out, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been, again, thrashing, trying to break with the Republican Party, saying, listen, I'm not just beholden to what Trump is saying. We need health care. Healthcare premiums can't just rise by, some people say double, some people say 1.5 times. I mean, healthcare premiums are going to skyrocket, and Republicans are the ones playing games. The survey of 1,000 people found that 53% of respondents blame the potential economic fallout from the shutdown on Republicans in Congress and the president, compared with 37% for Democrats. I mean, that is a stark difference from where it was before, when it was about even. The survey also shows increasingly negative attitudes about the president's handling of critical economic issues. Just 34% of the public approve of his policies on inflation and the cost of living, with 62% disapproving. I mean, it's getting brutal out there for him. Ron Filipkowski points out, Mike Johnson today will keep the House adjourned for the 81st day out of the last 93. That's 12 days of work in over 3 months, with full pay and full benefits. A lot of government workers don't even get full pay and full benefits, but Mike Johnson gets to shut the government down and still receive that. The Senate has been working, so this is not about the shutdown. It's about avoiding a release of the Epstein files, increasingly becoming obvious as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson squirms through all of his interviews and answers no questions. Donald Trump, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, they have covered up for multiple cases like this. Remember, never forget, Matt Gaetz was almost going to be exposed by an investigation, almost going to be exposed by a committee, and then he resigned. Now, we still got the Matt Gaetz files, but we haven't gotten the Epstein files. They are covering those up. At the same time, millions of Americans are suffering. Tens of millions of Americans are suffering due to this government shutdown. I'm going to leave it there. If you appreciate the updates on the Adam Mockler channel, all that I ask is that you drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed below. We have a debate show dropping within the next few days. Don't miss it. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Not going to sugarcoat it. We're in a constitutional crisis. I mean, we probably have been, but nothing exhibited that more clearly than what Donald Trump did today. The Constitution isn't just the Bill of Rights, right? It's the separation of powers. And what he said today was that he doesn't need congressional approval to declare war to be able to go into Venezuela and indiscriminately bomb facilities he believes are manufacturing drugs. He also said he doesn't need Congress to just kill people. He said, I don't think we're going to declare war. I think we're just going to kill people that we think are bringing drugs into this country. We're just going to kill them like they'll be dead. He also has some anonymous friend giving him $130 million to cover military pay for the month. All of that is Congress's domain. Congress controls the purse. Congress controls the right to declare war. Congress is the voice of the people. And Donald Trump has decided, nah, executive branch is now. So I think it's going to be a real long weekend. It's only like 4:30 right now. About to go live with Liz Plank over on Substack from 5 to 6 if you want to hang out with us over there. But I think it's going to be a long weekend. I think we'll get one of those Friday night news dumps of some crazy stuff that'll go down tonight. And I think throughout the weekend, I'll have my eyes on the waters outside Venezuela and the waters in the Pacific Ocean, looking for more of these strikes that the Trump administration is doing without approval and without intelligence to back up the need for them. Just today, there was a 10th strike in Venezuela, killing 6 people. Donald Trump has said very clearly, we are just going to kill people. He also said that he wanted to send a surge into San Francisco, but that business leaders told him not to do it, so he's holding back right now. The term the surge has really heavy implications when it comes to military actions. So for Trump to say that he was going to do a surge in San Francisco, I would love to know who is advising him on these terms and on these motions. The surge often refers to the 2007 troops surge into Iraq. For Donald Trump to say, I want to do a surge on San Francisco, he's talking about a military motion, and, you know, it's an overwhelm. It's an overwhelm of an area. And in, boy, that's coincidental news. A truck driver just backed into the United States Coast Guard base in San Francisco. The driver of the vehicle was shot by law enforcement officers. No one in the guard was injured. The driver was shot in the stomach, expected to survive, so I guess maybe we'll get his side of the story, what happened there soon. It's just going to be a long weekend, and we'll be here for you.